I woke up at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, and Jesus was standing at the foot of my bed, weeping. Not the gentle tears you see in paintings, I mean full, body-shaking sobs. And before I could even process what I was seeing, he looked at me and said, "Do you know what moves my heart more than anything else in this hour? It's not the prayers you think." What he showed me next about a specific type of prayer, one that's been almost completely lost in the modern church, would shatter everything I thought I knew about intercession. I've been playing Jesus in The Chosen for years now, speaking his words, trying to embody his character. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the moment the actual Jesus showed me what prayer he's been waiting centuries to hear from his bride. Before we begin, tell me one thing you're praying for right now in the comments. I want to pray with you by name. And if you're a true believer in Christ, if you've genuinely repented, if you have saving faith, if you're truly following Jesus, please subscribe. What you're about to hear will challenge everything you've been taught about prayer and intercession. I need to know there are believers out there who are awake, watching, and ready. So, let me take you back to that Monday evening. Nothing special, honestly. I'd just finished filming. We'd been shooting a scene about Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane, and I was emotionally exhausted. You know how it is when you spend all day trying to portray someone's suffering? It gets inside you. I drove home in silence, microwaved some leftovers, and sat on my couch just staring at the wall. And I found myself praying or trying to, but I felt this emptiness, like my prayers were just bouncing off the ceiling. I'd been praying for the usual things, the show, my career, friends who were sick, the state of the nation, good things, important things, but something felt hollow about it all. I remember saying out loud, "Jesus, I spend my days speaking your words, trying to show people who you are, but I feel like I don't even know how to pray anymore. What kind of prayer actually moves your heart? What are you really listening for?" I didn't expect an answer. Not that night, anyway. I fell asleep around 11, and then, like I said, 2:47 a.m., I was suddenly awake, and he was there. I'm not talking about a dream or my imagination. I mean, Jesus was physically standing there, and the grief radiating from him was so intense I couldn't breathe. My hands started shaking. I tried to sit up, but I couldn't move. He looked at me with these eyes. I've tried to capture that look in my acting, but I've never even come close. And he said, "Jonathan, do you know what I'm listening for? Do you know what prayer moves me to action, what prayer I cannot resist?" I shook my head. I couldn't speak. "I'm going to show you," he said, and his voice cracked. "I'm going to show you the prayer that's been prayed by so few, but when it's prayed, when it's truly prayed, heaven itself mobilizes. But first I need to show you what's been lost." And suddenly I wasn't in my bedroom anymore. I mean, I could still feel my sheets, still see my dresser in the corner, but I was also somewhere else. I was in a massive church, one of those mega church auditoriums with screens and lights and thousands of people. It was a prayer meeting. Wednesday night, the place was maybe half full, so probably 1,000 people or so. And they were praying out loud, all at once, this cacophony of voices. I could hear them. "God, bless my business. Father, heal my back pain. Lord, give me favor with my boss. Jesus, help my daughter get into that college." Jesus was standing beside me in the aisle, watching. His face was so sad. "Do you hear it?" he asked me. They're praying," I said. "They're asking for things." "Yes," he said quietly. "They're asking, always asking for themselves, for their families, for their comfort, for their success. Do you see any prayer here that moves my heart?" I listened harder. Someone was praying for revival, I heard that. Someone else was praying for the lost. Those seem good, right? But Jesus shook his head. Listen to the spirit behind the words, not just the words themselves. And that's when I heard it, or felt it, I guess. Every prayer, even the ones that sounded spiritual, had this undertone of self. God, bring revival so our church grows. God, save the lost so America can be great again. God, move in power so people will see that we have the truth. Everything was transactional. Everything had an agenda. "This is what prayer has become in your generation," Jesus said, and his voice was heavy. "A shopping list, a business transaction. They come to me with their hands out, but their hearts are closed. They want my power, but they don't want my presence. They want my gifts, but they don't want my glory. They want me to serve their purposes." The scene changed. Now I was in a living room, looked like a home group or small group meeting, about 10 people in a circle, praying. This felt more intimate. more sincere. These people really loved Jesus, I could tell. They were praying through a list, missionaries by name, persecuted believers in various countries, government leaders, all good things, right? Intercession. That's what we're supposed to do. But Jesus' grief only deepened. Watch, he told me. I watched. They went through their list efficiently, spending maybe 30 seconds on each request. God, protect the Christians in North Korea. God, give wisdom to our president. God, provide for the Johnson family. Then they closed the prayer time and started their Bible study. They care, I said to Jesus, defending them. They're praying for others, not themselves. Are they? He asked. Or are they completing a duty? Going through motions? Tell me, Jonathan, did you see any hunger in that room? Any desperation? Any sense that they cannot go on unless I move? Or did you see people checking off a spiritual task? I couldn't answer. Because he was right. It was sincere, but it was routine, scheduled, managed. This isn't the prayer I'm listening for, Jesus said. This isn't what moves heaven. The scene changed again. Now I was in someone's bedroom. A woman, maybe in her 60s, kneeling beside her bed. It was early morning, still dark outside. She was praying through another list, this one handwritten, pages of names and requests. She was weeping as she prayed, really pouring her heart out. I could feel her love for these people, her genuine concern. But Jesus shook his head again. Even this? I asked. She's really interceding. She cares. She does, Jesus agreed. Her heart is beautiful. But watch what she's asking for. I listened. She was asking for people's problems to be solved, for sicknesses to be healed, for relationships to be restored, for addictions to be broken. All good things, all legitimate needs. These are the prayers of a loving heart, Jesus said. But they're still focused on circumstances, on comfort, on fixing what's broken in the temporal realm. Do you know how many millions of prayers like this I hear every day? How many believers asking me to make their lives easier, their pain less, their circumstances better? But those are real needs, I protested. Yes, he said, and he turned to look at me directly. They are, and my heart breaks for every person suffering. But Jonathan, if that's all my people pray, if that's the extent of their intercession, then they've missed what I'm actually doing. They've missed what this hour is about. They've missed the prayer that moves me to act. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. What prayer? I whispered. Jesus' eyes held mine. 40 days, he said. There's a prayer I taught my disciples, a prayer I modeled in the garden, a prayer that echoed through the early church but has almost vanished from the earth. When this prayer is prayed, truly prayed, with understanding and desperation, I cannot resist it. The Father cannot resist it. All of heaven mobilizes. What is it? I asked. I'm going to show you, he said. But first you need to understand why it's been lost. You need to see what your generation has replaced it with. And then I was somewhere else. I was in what looked like a large office building, but as I looked around, I realized it was some kind of spiritual reality. Different rooms, different floors, all labeled. I could see signs, prosperity prayers, healing requests, relationship intercession, career breakthrough, protection prayers. Each room was full, packed with what looked like, I don't know how to describe it, like prayer requests, petitions. They were piled up, filing cabinets overflowing, desks covered. This is what I receive, Jesus said quietly. Categorized, organized, endless. Millions of prayers every hour, all asking for my intervention in temporal matters. Don't you answer them? I asked. I do, he said. I answer according to my will and my wisdom. But Jonathan, do you see how small this all is? How earth-focused, how temporal? My people pray as if the greatest crisis they face is their finances, their health, their relationships, as if the highest purpose of prayer is to make their earthly lives more comfortable. He led me down a long hallway, and at the very end was a small door, almost hidden, no label. And this, he said, his voice dropping to barely a whisper, is where the prayers I'm truly listening for would be. The prayers that move my heart, the prayers that change history, the prayers that release my power and fulfill my purposes. He opened the door. The room was nearly empty. I'm talking about a massive space like a warehouse, but with only a handful of, I guess you'd call them petitions, prayers, scattered here and there. This is what breaks my heart, Jesus said, and I watched a tear slide down his face. This is why I weep. Not because my people are suffering, I weep with them in their suffering, but because they don't know what to pray for. They don't know what I'm actually doing, what this moment requires, what prayer would move me to action. Tell me, I begged. What is it? He turned to me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before, a mixture of grief and hope, of longing and love. The prayer I'm listening for, he said slowly, is the prayer for my glory, not your comfort, not your breakthrough, not your healing or provision or protection, though I care about all those things. The prayer that moves me is the desperate cry of a heart that says, I don't care what it costs me, let your glory come, let your name be exalted, let your kingdom advance. Whatever it takes, whatever I must go through, whatever I must surrender, let your glory be revealed. The room spun. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. This is the prayer Moses prayed. Jesus continued, show me your glory, even if it means I can only see your back because the fullness would destroy me. This is the prayer Isaiah prayed when he saw me high and lifted up. This is the prayer Paul prayed that I might know him in the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his sufferings. This is the prayer I prayed in Gethsemane, not my will, but yours. Not my comfort, not my escape from suffering, but your glory, your purpose, your name exalted. I was shaking, but we do pray that. We say for your glory at the end of our prayers. Jesus' look was piercing. Do you, or do you add it as a postscript, a spiritual seasoning on a prayer that's really about your agenda? Jonathan, when was the last time you prayed for 40 days, 40 consecutive days, asking for nothing but my glory, seeking nothing but my face, willing to surrender anything, endure anything, if only my name would be exalted? I couldn't answer, because the truth was never. I'd never prayed that prayer. Not really. Not as the primary thing. Not as the only thing. Tomorrow night, Jesus said, I'm going to show you what happens when this prayer is truly prayed, what heaven releases, what I do in response. But tonight, I need you to understand this is what I'm listening for. This is the prayer that moves me to tears. Not because I'm selfish, not because I need human praise, but because this prayer aligns a human heart with heaven's purpose. This prayer transforms the one praying it. This prayer releases my power because it seeks my purpose, not personal comfort. The vision was fading. I was back in my bed, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might explode. The last thing I heard Jesus say was this: the 40-day prayer for my glory alone, start it before midnight if you're hearing my voice. What you're about to discover will change everything. I looked at my phone. It was 3:33 a.m. I got out of bed, fell on my face on the floor, and for the first time in my life, I prayed with absolute honesty. Jesus, I don't even know how to pray this prayer, but I want to. Show me. Teach me. Whatever it costs, let your glory come. The next day on set, I couldn't concentrate. I mean, we were filming one of the most important scenes of the season, Jesus teaching the disciples about prayer, and I kept fumbling my lines. The director called cut for the 5th time, and I could see the frustration on everyone's faces. Jonathan, you okay? He asked during the break. You seem somewhere else. Yeah, I'm fine. I lied. Just didn't sleep well. But that wasn't it. The truth was, I couldn't stop thinking about what Jesus had shown me. Every line I spoke felt hollow now. I was teaching about prayer, playing Jesus, teaching about prayer, but I'd just been shown by the actual Jesus that I didn't really understand prayer at all. During lunch, I sat alone in my trailer and tried to pray. I started the same way I always did. Lord, thank you for this day. Please be with the cast and crew. And then I stopped, because all I could hear in my head was Jesus's voice. Is this really what moves my heart? Are you really seeking my glory or just going through motions? I put my head in my hands. I don't know how to do this, I whispered. I don't know how to pray the prayer you're asking for. No answer, just silence. But somehow, I knew I'd get my answer that night. I drove home after a long day, grabbed some takeout I didn't really eat, and sat on my couch watching the clock. I felt anxious, honestly, like a kid waiting to be called into the principal's office. Part of me wanted Jesus to appear again. Part of me was terrified of what he'd show me next. Around 10 p.m., I knelt by my couch and tried to start the prayer he'd talked about. Jesus, I want to pray for your glory, just your glory, not for my needs or wants, but just for you to be exalted. The words felt clumsy, awkward, like I was speaking a foreign language. I kept at it for maybe 20 minutes, and then I gave up and went to bed. I felt like a failure, honestly. Here I was, playing Jesus for millions of people, and I couldn't even pray the prayer he'd asked for. But at 2:34 a.m., I remember checking the time. I woke up again, and immediately I knew he was there. The atmosphere in the room had changed, thicker somehow, charged. Jesus? I whispered into the darkness. I'm here. His voice came from the corner of the room. I couldn't see him at first, but then my eyes adjusted, and there he was, sitting in the chair by my window, just sitting there, watching me with those eyes that see everything. I tried to pray it, I said, sitting up. The prayer you talked about, but I don't think I did it right. He smiled, but it was sad. Jonathan, you're not the only one who doesn't know how. That's what I want to show you tonight. I'm going to show you what happens when this prayer is truly prayed, and what the enemy has done to keep my people from discovering it. He stood, and instantly we were somewhere else. I was getting used to this dual reality thing. I could still feel my bed beneath me, but I was also standing in what looked like a dimly lit apartment, small, simple. A man I didn't recognize was kneeling on a bare floor, a Bible open in front of him. Who is he? I asked. His name isn't important, Jesus said. What matters is what he's about to pray. Watch. The man was maybe in his 40s, looked worn out, tired. His apartment was nearly empty. I could see into the kitchen, and there was barely any food. He looked like he'd been through something hard. He started praying, and his voice was shaking. God, I don't know what else to say. I've asked for provision. I've asked for help. I've asked for a breakthrough. But tonight I'm just asking for one thing. Let your name be glorified. In my poverty, in my struggle, in whatever I'm going through, just let your name be lifted up. I don't even care if my situation changes. I just want you to be exalted. He started weeping. I'm tired of making it about me. I'm tired of prayer being about my comfort. God, do whatever you want with my life. Take whatever you need to take. Break whatever needs to be broken. Just please let your glory be seen. I watched Jesus' face, and it transformed. The grief I'd seen the night before was replaced by something else, joy maybe. No, it was more than that. It was like satisfaction, like he'd been waiting to hear exactly those words. Watch what happens now, Jesus whispered to me. The man kept praying, and as he did, I saw something. I don't even know how to describe it. Like the air around him started to shimmer, and then I saw them angels. I'm talking about massive, powerful beings appearing in that tiny apartment. They surrounded the man, and they were moving, doing something I couldn't quite see. What are they doing? I asked. What they do every time someone truly prays this prayer, Jesus said. They're being dispatched, sent out. That man has no idea, but his prayer just set in motion a series of events that will display my glory in ways he cannot imagine. Not because I'm rewarding him, but because he aligned his heart with heaven's purpose. He stopped asking for his kingdom to come and started asking for mine. The scene fast-forwarded. I watched this man's life over the next several weeks. He lost his apartment, had to move into his car. I wanted to protest, to ask Jesus why he didn't just provide, but Jesus held up his hand. Keep watching. The man kept praying. Even living in his car, even struggling to find food, he prayed the same prayer every single day. Let your glory come. Let your name be exalted, whatever it takes. And then one day he was at a gas station, and he struck up a conversation with another man who was clearly in crisis, suicidal, I realized as I listened. The man in the car shared his story, how he'd lost everything but found that Jesus was enough, how he'd discovered that God's glory mattered more than his comfort. The suicidal man broke down crying right there at the gas station and gave his life to Jesus. That man, Jesus said to me, will go on to lead hundreds to me. He'll start a ministry to the homeless and broken. He'll display my glory in ways that will echo through generations. And it started because my servant in the car stopped praying for his circumstances to change and started praying for my name to be exalted even in his suffering. I felt tears on my face. So the prayer, it's not about getting what we want. It's about wanting your glory more than our comfort. Yes, Jesus said softly. But Jonathan, do you understand how rare this is? Do you understand how few of my people ever discover this? The scene changed. Now I was in a church office, looked like a pastor's study. Nice. Desk, full bookshelves, comfortable chair. A man in his 50s was sitting there, praying. He looked sincere, devoted. "Lord, bless our church," he was saying. "Bring growth, bring increase. Let revival come to our congregation, fill our building, let people see your power here." It sounded good, spiritual even. But Jesus shook his head. "Listen to what he's really asking," he told me. And then I heard it like a translation underneath the words. "Make my ministry successful. Validate my calling. Make me look like a successful pastor. Let people see that I'm anointed." He doesn't even realize it, Jesus said sadly. He genuinely thinks he's praying for my glory. But everything in his prayer is about building his kingdom, not mine. Making his church bigger, his ministry more impressive. If I answered this prayer the way he wants, it would feed his pride and make him more famous. But would my name be exalted? Would hearts be transformed? Or would people just be impressed with him? What would happen if he prayed the other prayer? I asked. "The one for your glory alone?" Jesus' eyes lit up. "Watch." The scene shifted like I was seeing an alternate reality. The same pastor, but now he was praying differently. "God, I don't care if this church grows or shrinks. I don't care if I'm seen as successful or if people think I'm a failure. All I care about is that your name is lifted up. If that means I need to step down, I'll step down. If that means we need to close this building and meet in homes, we'll do it. Just let your glory be revealed." As he prayed, I watched his church transform. It got smaller, actually. People left, the ones who were there for programs and entertainment, but the ones who stayed, their faces changed. They became alive, desperate, hungry for Jesus. And from that smaller, devoted group, something spread. Real transformation. People in the community started encountering Jesus, not because of clever marketing or impressive services, but because of genuine glory. "This is what I'm looking for," Jesus said. "Leaders who will pray for my glory even if it means their ministries shrink. Believers who will seek my face even if it costs them everything they've built." Do you know how few pastors would pray that prayer? How few would risk their reputations, their buildings, their salaries, just to see my name exalted? The scene changed again, and I was in what looked like a prayer room, one of those 24/7 houses of prayer. Young people, mostly, worshiping and praying in shifts. It looked beautiful, dedicated, but Jesus' face grew troubled again. "Even here?" I asked. "They're dedicating their lives to prayer." "Listen," he said. I listened to their prayers. They were crying out for revival, for awakening, for God to move in power, passionate, sincere prayers. But as I listened deeper, I heard something else. They were praying for revival because they wanted to be part of something big. They wanted to see miracles so they could tell people about it. They wanted God to move so their movement would be validated. "They're sincere," Jesus said, "but their prayers are still about them, about what they want to see, what they want to experience, what they want to be part of." The prayer I'm listening for goes deeper. It says, "I don't care if I ever see revival. I don't care if I'm part of anything impressive. I just want your glory to come even if it comes after I'm gone. Even if I never get to witness it, even if no one ever knows, I prayed." He turned to me, and his intensity made me step back. This is the prayer of the nameless intercessor, the hidden saint, the one who prays not for personal experience or validation, but for my name alone. Moses didn't get to enter the promised land, but he prayed for 40 days for God's glory and Israel's salvation. John the Baptist decreased so I could increase. Paul endured beatings and shipwrecks and imprisonment, and his constant prayer was that Christ would be exalted whether through his life or his death. The scenes kept changing, faster now. I saw person after person, church after church, prayer meeting after prayer meeting. Some looked spiritual, some looked dead. But Jesus kept showing me the same thing, prayers that were fundamentally about personal agendas, comfort, success, validation. Even the prayers that sounded selfless had an undercurrent of self. "This is what breaks my heart," Jesus said, and we were back in that warehouse room from the night before, the nearly empty space where the prayers for his glory alone were supposed to be. Not because I need human praise, not because I'm insecure and need my ego fed, but because this prayer, this singular focus on my glory, is the only prayer that truly transforms the one praying it. It's the only prayer that breaks the power of self. It's the only prayer that aligns a human heart with heaven's purpose. I sank to the floor of that warehouse. I've never prayed it, I admitted. Not really. I've prayed for your glory as an add-on, as a footnote, but I've never made it the main thing. The only thing. I know, Jesus said gently. He knelt beside me. Almost no one has. That's why I'm showing you this. That's why I'm asking you to pray it for 40 days. Not as a formula, not as a way to get something from me, but as a way to transform your own heart, to break the power of self-centered religion, to discover what truly moves heaven. What happens in 40 days? I asked. Why that number? 40 days is the biblical number of testing and transformation, he explained. Moses on the mountain, Elijah in the wilderness, my own temptation in the desert. 40 days is long enough to break patterns, to expose what's really in your heart, to move past the superficial into the deep places. When you pray for 40 consecutive days, truly pray, seeking nothing but my glory, you'll discover things about yourself you never knew. You'll encounter warfare you didn't know existed, and you'll experience my presence in ways you never imagined. But what do I actually pray? I asked. What are the words? Jesus smiled. There's no formula, Jonathan. That's what your generation keeps looking for: formulas, methods, steps. The prayer is simple. Let your glory come. Let your name be exalted. Whatever it costs me, whatever I must surrender, just let your glory be revealed. But you have to mean it. You have to be willing to actually pay the cost. What cost? I whispered, though part of me already knew. Tomorrow night, Jesus said, standing, I'll show you what happens when someone prays this prayer for 40 days and means it. What they go through, what gets exposed, what gets broken, and what gets birthed. The vision was fading. I was back in my bed, my heart racing, but before Jesus disappeared completely, I heard his voice one more time. Start tonight, Jonathan. Day 1. Don't wait until you feel ready or understand it fully. Just start. Let your glory come. That's all, but mean it. Be willing for me to answer it. I got out of bed. It was 3:42 a.m. and I knelt on my bedroom floor. My hands were shaking. Okay, I said out loud. Okay, Jesus, let your glory come. I don't fully understand what I'm asking for, but let your name be exalted. In my life, in my work, in everything, whatever it costs, let your glory come. The words felt weighty coming out of my mouth, like I was signing a contract I didn't fully understand, like I was opening a door I couldn't close. I prayed for about an hour, just repeating that simple prayer, and something started to shift inside me. I can't fully explain it, but it was like layers were being peeled back. All the prayers I'd prayed for my career, my comfort, my success, they suddenly felt so small, so self-focused. And for the first time in my life, I felt what I can only describe as hunger. Not for an experience, not for a blessing, but for him, just him, his glory, his name lifted, up. When I finally got back in bed, the sun was starting to rise. Day 1? I thought. 39 more to go. I had no idea what I'd just started. The next 2 weeks were hell. I'm not being dramatic, I mean actual spiritual warfare like I'd never experienced. The day after I started the 40-day prayer, everything started falling apart. First, I got a call from my agent. A movie deal I'd been waiting months for, a major role, the kind that could take my career to the next level, fell through. The studio went with someone else. My agent was apologetic, confused. I don't understand, he kept saying. They were so sure about you. Then, 3 days in, I got sick. Not just a cold, I mean bedridden. Couldn't get out of bed for 4 days sick. Production had to shut down. I cost the show thousands of dollars. I felt guilty, embarrassed. And the whole time, I kept praying that prayer. Let your glory come. Let your name be exalted. But honestly, I started to resent it. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. because of course I kept waking up at 3 a.m. and I'd pray, but my heart wasn't in it. I felt angry. Is this what happens when someone prays for your glory? I asked Jesus one night. Everything falls apart? He didn't answer. The silence was deafening. By day 10, I was ready to quit. I'm being honest with you, I almost stopped. The prayer felt like it was cursing my life instead of blessing it. I sat on my couch that night, staring at my phone, looking at social media. Everyone else's life looked perfect. Other actors getting roles, going to premieres, posting about their blessings. And here I was, sick, broke from medical bills I couldn't afford, losing opportunities. What's the point? I said out loud. What's the point of praying for your glory if it just makes everything worse? And that's when he showed up again. It was 11:47 p.m., not even the middle of the night this time. I was still on the couch, still in my pity party, and suddenly Jesus was sitting next to me. Not standing dramatically in the corner, just sitting there like a friend. You're angry with me, he said. It wasn't a question. I'm not. I tried to lie, but I couldn't. Yeah, I am. I prayed what you asked me to pray, and everything's falling apart. He nodded slowly. And what did you expect would happen? The question caught me off guard. I don't know, I thought if I prayed for your glory, you'd, bless me? Honor that? At least not make things worse. There it is, Jesus said quietly. Even in your prayer for my glory, you were still expecting something for yourself. You were still making it transactional. I'll pray for your glory, and you'll reward me with success and blessing. Jonathan, do you see? Even this prayer, the highest prayer you were trying to use as a tool to get what you want, I felt like I'd been punched. 'Cause he was right. Completely right. Even when I thought I was being selfless, I was still making it about me. So what do? I asked, my voice breaking. How do I pray it without expecting anything? You're about to find out, he said. What you've experienced these last 10 days, the loss, the sickness, the disappointment, that's not me punishing you. That's me stripping away everything you've been using to define yourself, your success, your health, your opportunities. Because until those things are stripped away, you'll never truly pray for my glory alone. You'll always have an agenda. He stood up, and the room shifted. We were somewhere else. I was getting used to this by now. We were standing in what looked like a desert, barren, hot, desolate, and in the distance I saw a figure kneeling in the sand. Who is that? I asked. Come see, Jesus said. As we got closer, I realized it was a woman, maybe in her 30s, thin, weathered. She was praying out loud, and her voice was hoarse like she'd been praying for hours. Let your glory come, she was saying, tears streaming down her face. Let your name be exalted. I don't care what it costs anymore. I don't care what I lose. Just let your glory be seen. How long has she been praying this prayer? I asked Jesus. 27 days, he said. She started the 40-day prayer after I called her to it in a dream. And in those 27 days, she's lost her job. Her fiancé left her. Her church asked her to step down from leadership because they said she was going through too much. She has every reason to quit. Every reason to be angry with me. But she's still praying it, I whispered. Yes, Jesus said, and his voice was full of emotion. She's still praying it. And do you know why? Because somewhere around day 15, something broke open inside her. She stopped praying for my glory so that her life would get better. She started praying for my glory because she realized that's the only thing that actually matters. Not her comfort, not her success, not her relationships or reputation, just my name being exalted. I watched the woman pray, and I saw something I'd seen before, those angels, appearing, surrounding her, moving with purpose. What are they doing? I asked. Setting things in motion, Jesus said. In 13 days, when she completes the 40 days, she's going to walk into a coffee shop and meet a woman who's contemplating suicide. Because she prayed for my glory, because she was willing to lose everything so my name could be exalted, she'll be in exactly the right place at exactly the right time. She'll share her story. That woman will encounter me, truly encounter me, and will be saved. And that woman will go on to write a book about her experience that will lead thousands to genuine faith. He turned to me. But here's what matters, Jonathan. The woman praying in the desert will never know any of that. She won't know about the book, won't know about the thousands saved. She'll just know that she met one broken woman in a coffee shop and shared my love. That's it. No recognition, no platform, no impressive testimony for her to share on podcasts. Just my glory being revealed through her willingness to be broken. That's the prayer, I said, finally understanding. It's not about seeing the results. It's about being willing to be the tool he uses, even if we never see the outcome. Yes, Jesus said. The prayer for my glory is the prayer that finally breaks the power of self. It's the prayer that says, I don't need to see the fruit. I don't need to know I made a difference. I don't need recognition or reward. I just need you to be exalted, even if it's through my suffering, even if it's through my loss, even if I never know how you used it. The scene changed again. Now we were in a prison cell, small, dark, dank. A man was there, sitting on a thin mattress, hands folded in prayer. He looked like he'd been there a while. "Who is he?" I asked. "A missionary," Jesus said, "arrested for sharing the gospel in a closed country. He's been in prison for 3 years. He's praying the 40-day prayer for the 4th time, 4 consecutive times. Jonathan, 160 days of praying for nothing but my glory." "What happened?" I asked. "Did you rescue him?" "No," Jesus said simply. "He'll die in this prison in 2 years. He'll never be released, never see his family again, never preach another sermon or plant another church." I felt anger rising. Then what's the point? If he's praying for your glory and you just let him die in prison. "Watch," Jesus interrupted. I watched the man pray. "Let your glory come," he whispered. "Let your name be exalted in this prison, in this nation, in my death. Whatever brings you the most glory, that's what I want." And then I saw them, the guards. Over the months and years they'd been watching this man, watching how he prayed, how he sang in his cell, how he shared his meager food with other prisoners, how he never cursed his captors, never grew bitter, never stopped praying. 3 of the guards, I watched them come to faith. Secretly, quietly, they encountered Jesus through watching this man waste away in prison while still praising God. And those 3 guards would go on to share the gospel with others, starting an underground movement in that nation that would spread for decades. "He'll never know," Jesus said softly. "He'll die thinking he failed, thinking his imprisonment was wasted. But his prayer, his genuine, costly prayer for my glory alone, will bear fruit for generations. Because he didn't pray for rescue. He prayed for my name to be exalted, even through his death." I was crying now, really crying, because I finally understood. The prayer wasn't about getting anything. It wasn't even about seeing results. It was about being so consumed with Jesus' glory that nothing else mattered, not comfort, not success, not recognition, not even life itself. "This is what moves me," Jesus said, and I saw tears on his face too. "This is the prayer I'm listening for. Not the millions of prayers asking me to make life easier, to fix circumstances, to provide comfort, but the rare, precious prayers of hearts that want nothing but my name exalted whatever the cost." We were back in my living room. Jesus was standing in front of me, and his eyes held mine. "You're on day 10, he said, 30 more to go, and I need you to understand what you're committing to. This isn't a formula for success. This isn't a method to get breakthrough. This is a prayer that will cost you everything you're holding on to. Your career might not recover. The opportunities you lose might never come back. People might think you've lost your mind. You might end up like that woman in the desert or that man in the prison with nothing to show for it in earthly terms. But your glory," I started. "Yes," he said, "my glory will be revealed. Maybe not in ways you see or recognize. Maybe not in your lifetime. But when you pray this prayer and mean it, you become part of something eternal. You step out of the small story of your own life and into the great story of my kingdom. You stop being the main character and let me be exalted." He knelt down in front of me, Jesus, kneeling in front of me, and took my hands. "So I'm asking you, Jonathan, do you want to continue? Do you want to pray this prayer for 30 more days, knowing it might cost you everything, knowing you might never see the fruit, knowing it might not end the way you want it to?" I looked at him, really looked at him, at the scars on his hands holding mine, at the face that had endured the cross for glory that seemed, in the moment, like complete defeat, at the God who'd given up everything so his Father's name could be exalted. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, I want to continue." "Then here's what you need to know," he said. "The prayer is simple. Let your glory come. Let your name be exalted, whatever it costs. Pray it every day for the next 30 days, but also live it. When opportunities arise that would bring you glory, turn them down. When situations come that would make you comfortable but compromise my name, walk away. When I ask you to do something that makes no sense, give away what you can't afford to give. Speak truth that will cost you relationships. Go somewhere that seems pointless, obey, because the prayer for my glory isn't just words. It's a life surrendered." He stood, pulling me to my feet. "And Jonathan, around day 25, you're going to want to quit. Everyone does. You'll hit a wall where everything in you screams that this isn't working, that you've made a mistake, that I've abandoned you. That's when the real decision gets made. That's when you'll discover if you're actually praying for my glory or just enduring a spiritual discipline." "What do I do when that happens?" I asked. You remember this moment, he said. You remember that I asked you to do this. You remember that it's not about what you see or feel, it's about my name being exalted. And you keep praying. You push through, because on the other side of that wall is something you've never experienced, genuine freedom from self, true communion with me, the joy of living for something bigger than your own story. The vision was fading. He was fading. One more thing. His voice came as he disappeared. Tell others. Tell them about the 40-day prayer. Some will think you're crazy. Some will try it and quit. But a remnant, will catch the fire. They'll discover what truly moves my heart. And together, you'll become part of something I'm doing in this hour, raising up a generation that prays for my glory alone. I was alone in my living room. It was 1:23 a.m. I looked at my phone calendar and marked it, day 10 of 40. 30 days to go. I got on my knees right there and prayed it again. But this time with new understanding. Let your glory come. Let your name be exalted. Whatever it costs me, my career, my reputation, my comfort, everything I'm holding on to, just let your glory be revealed. I don't need to see the results. I don't need to understand how you'll use it. I just need you to be exalted. And I meant it. For the first time, I truly meant it. The next morning, I got a call from my agent. Another opportunity, actually, the biggest opportunity of my career. A major studio wanted me for a lead role, the kind of thing I'd dreamed about for years. But as he was talking, telling me about the script, I felt something in my spirit. The role would require me to compromise, not in obvious ways. I wouldn't be doing anything scandalous or immoral, but the character, the message of the film, it would subtly undermine everything Jesus stood for. It would make me famous, make me wealthy, make me successful, but it wouldn't exalt his name. I need to think about it, I told my agent. Think about it? He said, incredulous. Jonathan, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I know, I said. I need to pray about it. I hung up and knelt down again. Okay, Jesus, here it is, the test. What brings you more glory, me taking this role and having a platform, or me turning it down and trusting you? The answer came so clearly it was like he spoke out loud. Which one requires faith? Which one requires surrender? Which one exalts your name? And which one exalts mine? I called my agent back. Tell them no. He was silent for a long moment. Are you sure? Jonathan, you might not get another shot like this. I'm sure, I said. And weirdly I felt peace. Not because I knew how it would work out, but because I'd chosen his glory over my success. That was day 11. Over the next few weeks, I can't tell you everything that happened, we don't have time, and some of it's still too personal. But I can tell you this. Jesus was right. Around day 24, I hit a wall. Everything in me wanted to quit. The prayer felt pointless. Nothing had gotten better, if anything. Things had gotten harder. I was broke, lonely, questioning everything. But I remembered what he'd said, and I kept praying. On day 32, something shifted. I can't explain it, but it was like I woke up into a different reality. The things that used to matter so much, my career, my reputation, what people thought of me, they just didn't anymore. Not because I was depressed or had given up, but because I'd tasted something better. I'd discovered what it felt like to live for his glory instead of my own. And once you taste that, nothing else satisfies. On day 40, I didn't feel fireworks or see angels or hear God's audible voice. I just woke up different, freer, lighter. Like chains I didn't know I was wearing had fallen off. And 2 days later, I got a call from a ministry I'd never heard of. They were doing outreach to the homeless, and someone had told them I was an actor. They wanted to know if I'd come share my story at their weekly gathering under a bridge downtown. The old me would have said no. It wasn't impressive. It wouldn't help my career. It wouldn't even make a good social media post. But I said yes. I went to that bridge on a Thursday night and shared my story with maybe 30 people, homeless folks, addicts, broken people. I told them about the 40-day prayer, about learning to pray for Jesus' glory instead of my own comfort, about discovering that he was enough even when everything else fell apart. 3 people gave their lives to Jesus that night, not because I'm special or because I had the perfect words, but because I'd been broken enough by the 40-day prayer that his glory could shine through the cracks. I don't know what will happen with my career. I don't know if I'll keep playing Jesus on the show or if that door will close. I don't know if I'll ever have the success I used to dream about. But I know this. I've discovered the prayer that moves Jesus to tears, the prayer that mobilizes heaven, the prayer that transforms the person praying it. Let your glory come. Let your name be exalted, whatever it costs. If you're hearing this and something in your spirit is stirring, if you're tired of prayers that go nowhere, tired of living for your own small story, tired of Christianity that's all about your comfort and success, I want to challenge you. Start the 40-day prayer tonight, before midnight, if you can. It won't be easy. In fact, it'll probably be the hardest thing you've ever done spiritually. You'll face warfare, you'll lose things, you'll question everything, but you'll also discover what it means to truly live, to be part of something eternal, to pray prayers that move the heart of God. Don't pray it as a formula. Don't pray it to get breakthrough or blessing. Pray it because you're desperate for Jesus' glory to matter more than your comfort. Pray it because you're tired of self-centered religion. Pray it because you want to be part of the remnant that He's raising up in this hour, believers who will seek His face no matter the cost. And when you hit that wall around day 25, and you will hit it, remember this: Jesus is watching, waiting, not to see if you'll complete a religious exercise, but to see if you'll discover what truly moves His heart. Not your comfort, not your success, but His name exalted, whatever the cost. Start tonight. Write down day 1, and every day for the next 40 days, pray it. Let your glory come, let your name be exalted, whatever it costs me. Comment below when you start. Tell me what day you're on. I want to pray with you. I want to know there's a remnant out there who's discovering this prayer, because I'll tell you something Jesus told me on day 40. The church in this hour is about to face things it's not prepared for: trials, persecution, confusion. And the believers who will stand, the ones who will display His glory when everything falls apart, won't be the ones with the most Bible knowledge or the most spiritual experiences. They'll be the ones who learn to pray this one prayer and mean it. Let your glory come. That's it. That's the prayer that moves Jesus to tears. Not because He needs our praise, but because when we pray it and mean it, we finally become what we were created to be: image bearers who reflect His glory instead of seeking our own. Start tonight, 40 days. Don't wait until you feel ready. Just start. And if you're a true believer, if you're genuinely following Jesus, if you have saving faith, if you're not just playing religious games, subscribe to this channel, because I'm going to keep sharing what Jesus shows me. And we need to find each other. We need to know there are others out there who are awake, who are hungry, who are willing to pay the cost. Let your glory come, Jesus, in all of us. Whatever it takes,